What could have been with the 1969 Washington Senators? So, in 1969, the Senators finished with a record of 86-76, a .531 winning percentage. They finished a game back of the Boston Red Sox, which sounds good until you realize the Red Sox finished in third place. They finished 3 games back of the second place Detroit Tigers, who finished 19 games back of the powerhouse juggernaut 109-53, .673 winning percentage Baltimore Orioles. So this, what could have been, has a very steep hill to climb if it's going to make it to the postseason. But we're going to try it anyway, because that's what we do. We take chances. And we don't look at realistic stuff. We look at what could have been. And once again, as far as accuracy's sake, I try to be as accurate as possible while trying to create creative content. Right? Some of the uniform numbers I know are going to be off, okay? So prepare yourself for that if you're one of the trolls that comes in the comment section and say, this guy didn't wear that number, he wore that number. Okay, I shouldn't call you trolls. I know you're not a troll. I know you're an avid fan as well. I respect that, right? But there may be some liberties that I had to take here. So just be mindful of that. As always, we'll start with the team as it was. I'll give you the pitching rotation first. Started with Dick Bozeman, Joe Coleman, Jim Hannon, Barry Moore, and Camilo Pascual. The bullpen consisted of Dave Baldwin, who I've gotten a mail return from. I've gotten a card back from Joe Coleman, too. So Dave Baldwin, Bob Humphreys, Darrell Knowles, and closer Dennis Higgins. The starting lineup consisted of catcher Paul Casanova, first baseman Mike Epstein, second baseman Tim Cullen, third baseman Kim McMullen, shortstop Abe Brinkman, left fielder Frank Howard, who I talked to on the phone just a few days ago, maybe a week ago now, center fielder Del Unzer, and right fielder Ed Stroud. And once again, finishing 23 games back of first place. But could that have been different? Well, let's take a look at some hypotheticals. Prior to the 1963 season, a young outfielder was drafted from the Cleveland Indians in a first-year draft of sorts. But the Senators, the following offseason, before 1964, traded him to the Baltimore Orioles. This young outfielder was named Lou Piniella. How about when you get him from the Indians, don't get rid of him? So that adds you an outfielder. Piniella was a left fielder, so it might clash with Frank Howard a little bit. But you can work around that. Let's see. When I was on the phone with Frank Howard a week or so ago, whenever it was, I asked him about the 1969 season. And he said that one of their biggest things was, it wasn't necessarily that they didn't feel they could win. They felt like they could win because Ted Williams really motivated them, and told him to have fun playing. They just didn't have one of those real strong workhorse ace starting pitchers. Well, I initially thought of a way to get him one, but then I remembered they could have had two. We're going to talk about one of them right now. Prior to the 1965 season, there was a big trade involving the Senators and the Dodgers. All right? These Senators traded two players, second baseman John Kennedy and starting pitcher Claude Osteen, to the Los Angeles Dodgers for left fielder / first baseman Frank Howard, third baseman Ken McMullen, relief pitcher Phil Ortega, and also pitcher Pete Rickard. Do you trade a different pitcher instead of Osteen? Because those pickups are good. Howard and McMullen are in the starting lineup in the team originally. And in fact, they both will end up being in this new lineup. Phil Ortega's good bullpen depth. I forgot to write him down. I also forgot to write down Pete Rickard. But the Senators could also keep Pete Rickard and not send him to the Orioles later on. So there's two more bullpen arms that I forgot to list in my final roster. I was just thinking about that. But if you send a different pitcher other than Osteen, or maybe just somebody different entirely, you keep Osteen. Remember, Claude Osteen was really good with the Dodgers. Problem is, he had Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale in front of him in the rotation. So you had Osteen. You have something much closer to an ace than Dick Bozeman. Nothing against Dick Bozeman necessarily. But I'd be willing to bet more people have heard of Claude Osteen than Dick Bozeman. There's a reason why. After the 1970 season, in the Rule 5 draft, the Senators selected a third baseman from the Mets who had experience with the 67 Impossible Dream Red Sox and the expansion Kansas City Royals, third baseman Joe Foy. This will give you some depth in the infield. Maybe you do this sooner, before the 1969 season. Right? On my birthday in 1970, November 3rd, 1970, a trade between the Senators and the Phillies acquires outfielder, particularly center fielder, Curt Flood. And of course, Flood didn't play for the Phillies, but he was technically under contract. This led into all the drama with the reserve clause and helped bring along free agency a little bit. And the Supreme Court case, Kuhn versus Flood, is part of this. But we're not looking at that right now. So maybe the Senators, a couple years sooner, can get Curt Flood from the Cardinals, and Flood would have been more likely to come to the nation's capital rather than what some might say the nation's racism capital. I don't know. I've never been to Philadelphia or Boston. I've heard both of them are racist. I don't know. Particularly back in the day. Although the Phillies a few years ago did apologize to Jackie Robinson for all the racism. Obviously, 40 years after he's dead. Whatever. Go figure. But we're just going to say they get Curt Flood. Again, maybe, is it accurate? Probably not. But that's not entirely the point. We're going to say it happens anyway. Now we're going to add another ace. A more of a headline maker. Also after the 1970 season, Ed Brinkman, Joe Coleman, and third baseman Aurelio Rodriguez were traded to the Detroit Tigers. I'm not fond of the idea of trading those 3 guys. You can trade some other people. But the important thing here is that Senators get starting pitcher and former Cy Young Award and MVP winner in the same season, 1968, who won 31 games that year, Denny McLain. So you make that work. There's your ace. There he is. Now all of a sudden Claude Osteen's down to number 2. And Dick Bozeman's down to number 3 in the rotation. Now, Denny McLain didn't get along with Ted Williams that much. But what could have been, we're going to say he does. And he performs better. It's a great thing about doing these what could have been videos. I can just snap my fingers and say something happens. It's my video. I can make it up how I want to. And then one more thing. Just play at the second base position, Bernie Allen over Tim Cullen. Allen had a better season. And so, here's the new starting lineup for the 1969 Washington Senators. Batting first, playing center field, number 21, Curt Flood. Batting second, playing shortstop, number 11, Ed Brinkman. Batting third, playing right field, number 14, Lou Piniella. Batting fourth, playing left field, number 33, Frank Howard. Batting fifth, playing first base, number 6, Mike Epstein. Batting sixth, playing third base, number 2, Ken McMullen. Batting seventh, playing second base, number 7, Bernie Allen. Batting eighth, the catcher, number 8, Paul Casanova. Batting ninth, the pitcher slot, which can consist of any of the following. In the rotation, the ace, right-hander number 17, Denny McLain. The number 2 pitcher, left-hander number 24, Claude Osteen. Number 3, right-hander number 27, Dick Bozeman. Number 4, right-hander number 20, Joe Coleman. And number 5, right-hander number 62, Camilo Pascual. I know Pascual wore 17 and 69. I've already given that to Denny McLain. And some other numbers he wore. I think 11 was one, but Ed Brinkman, the shortstop, already has it. And so 62, Pascual wore with the original Senators when he was coming up. So give him that one. In the bullpen, left-hander number 25, Barry Moore. Right-hander number 16, Jim Hannon. Right-hander number 37, Dave Baldwin. Right-hander number 23, Bob Humphreys. Left-hander number 32, Darrell Knowles. And closer, right-hander number 28, Dennis Higgins. On the bench, in the bullpen, don't forget, I forgot the 2 pitchers I forgot to mention. Phil Ortega and Pete Rickard. Right. So those 2, especially Rickard, are going to give you some more depth. On the bench, catcher number 10, Jim French. Second baseman number 1, Tim Cullen. Third baseman number 5, Joe Foy. Third baseman number 4, Aurelio Rodriguez. Outfielder number 35, Hank Allen, brother of both Bernie and Dick Allen. Bernie's a teammate. Dick Allen was with the Phillies, of course. Outfielder number 36, Ed Stroud. And center fielder number 30, Del Unser. This team is very much improved, particularly with the rotation, and you're adding a little more speed to the starting lineup, I think, with Flood and Piniella. So how does this team fare? My favorite part of these What Could Have Been videos. See the standings again. They finished a game over the Red Sox, or a game under. I think this team easily makes that up. The Tigers no longer have Denny McLain, so we're going to say the Senators jump them as well. And let's say you're able to jump the Tigers. I'm not going to do exact science and go look up how many games Denny McLain won over the Senators or do some math like that. And since they're over the Tigers, let's say the Senators finish they would finish 10, 15 games back of then the Orioles. But then you got to take care of the Orioles. Can this Senators team jump the Orioles? The easy answer is no. But let's see if we can make it happen. If you go possession by possession, the Orioles have a top 3 in the rotation. Jim Palmer, Dave McNally, Mike Cuellar. Senators have a top 2, Denny McLain and Claude Osteen. Dick Bozeman maybe a little bit too. They may be about the same caliber, but the Orioles, I think, have more depth with the rotation, as well as with the bullpen. Although Orioles don't have Pete Rickard anymore, the Senators have him. So maybe you gain a little more ground. Maybe the Senators finish within 10 games. Of course, that would put the Senators at 100 wins. That's a big calling. No easy task there. Kurt Flood energizing your order. Ted Williams giving them the energy they need. If this team does take over the Orioles, then they have to take over the Twins in the American League Championship Series. Which, if they take over the Orioles, I think they could take over the Twins or the A's or the Angels or anybody in the American League West. Unless the Orioles just wear them out and the Twins' bats knock the rotation and the bullpen all over the place. So then if you go to the World Series against the Mets, miracle workers, the Mets versus the battle-tested Senators. Those are probably 2 miracle teams regardless. Miracle Mets, miracle Senators. Let's be honest. This team's probably not getting over the Orioles. I think it could be fairly close. Senators could have finished second, which would have been a pretty big drop for the Tigers. Come off from the defending World Series champions, and now they finish in third place in divisional play, first year of divisional play. Of course, then if you talk about, the Braves probably were better than the Mets. The Mets were just a bunch of miracle workers, and the players weren't actually that good. Then you'd have the Braves and the Senators. You have America's team versus the team in America's capital. That'd be an interesting World Series. And at the time, this team probably has more star power than those Braves. Senators possibly could have won that World Series. In Ball 4, he thought that Jim Bouton thought that Ted Williams would have wanted him. So if the Senators acquired Jim Bouton, there's some more relief depth with a knuckleballer. There's a few different directions you can go with this. Let me know what you think. What do you think happens with this team? I'll probably hear a lot of, they don't make it past the Orioles, which is fine. But I don't know. Let me know if you have anything different. It'd be cool if this team were to still play in Griffith Stadium, one of those real jewel box parks, instead of RFK Memorial Stadium. Nice stadium, but it was just one of the cookie cutters. Although I did kind of like the backdrop with the clock behind the outfield fence and things like that. And then let's see, for their uniforms. See, there's red is the predominant color, and then there's blue pinstripes. In fact, let's see, maybe you can give me a second. I can find you a picture. See what we can do here. Ted Williams, blue pinstripes, patriotic color scheme. There's the jersey, home jersey. Frank Howard in it. So, 1969 Washington Senators. Let me know what you think. What could have been?